Very good afternoon. You're watching NewsX and I'm Shivani Singh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced a major upgrade in ties between India and Ethiopia. Speaking in Addis Ababa, PM Modi highlighted India's growing economic footprint in Ethiopia, noting that Indian companies are among the largest investors in the country. He said that Indian investments have crossed $5 billion across multiple sectors and have generated over 75,000 jobs. In a significant diplomatic move, Prime Minister Modi also announced that India and Ethiopia have agreed to elevate their bilateral relation to a strategic partnership, marking a new chapter in cooperation. Let's in fact listen in to his statement.
Honorable members, today Indian companies are among the largest foreign investors in Ethiopia. They have invested more than $5 billion in diverse sectors like textiles, manufacturing, agriculture, health, and more. And they have created more than 75,000 local jobs. But I'm sure we can all agree our partnership has a lot more potential. That is why Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed and I took a big step forward yesterday. We have decided to elevate our bilateral relationship to the level of a strategic partnership.
Joining us on the phone line is my colleague Aditya Vadavan with more on this. Aditya, when we are looking at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech at the Ethiopian Parliament, one of the most important things that he's spoken about is investment. He said that there has been an investment of over $5 billion by various Indian companies in various sectors in Ethiopia, and that also has generated a lot of jobs.
Well, absolutely. Shivani, if you see, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his address to the Ethiopian Parliament, has made this statement that, this reflects the fact that, trade is one of the very, very important aspects, as far as the bilateral ties between India and Ethiopia are concerned. And definitely going forward, we could expect some, vibrant and robust trade relationship with Ethiopia. When we talk about several, when you just mentioned that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that a lot of investments have been done by the Indian companies in various sectors of Ethiopia, which will also, lead to job creation. So definitely, we could in the next few years, we could expect some robust trade collaborations between India and Ethiopia. And considering the fact that President Trump has imposed a sweeping tariffs, 50% tariffs on India at this juncture, it is very essential for India to, forge some trade partnerships with like-minded countries like Ethiopia. Shivani, back to you.
You to please stay on with us. We have some more inputs on the story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a standing ovation and non-stop applause at the Parliament of Ethiopia after his address. This is after more than 50 rounds of applause during the speech as well. In fact, take a look at those spectacular images on your screens. So we saw those visuals coming in from the Ethiopian Parliament, an absolute honor for the Prime Minister over there. After his address, he got 50 rounds of applause during the address, but after the address, that rousing standing ovation that went on for minutes.
Well, absolutely, Shivani. Indeed, it's a testament to the fact that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, a certain personal camaraderie with the leaders around the globe, and, the standing ovation at the Ethiopian parliament. Indeed, it's a very, very proud moment for every Indian that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has received such a ceremonial welcome at the Ethiopian parliament. And indeed, it is a well-established fact, that Prime Minister has an everlasting impact across the globe, considering the fact, the popularity Prime Minister Narendra Modi enjoys across the globe. So at this juncture, it needs to be seen how will this catalyze, to further robust the diplomatic relations between India and Ethiopia, and definitely in the times to come, we could witness frequent diplomatic engagements between India and Ethiopia. Shivani.
Absolutely, Aditya. Please do stay on with us. In fact, on the screens are those visuals from the Ethiopian parliament. You have that standing ovation. Now, in fact, addressing the Ethiopian parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also underscored the deep civilizational and historical bonds between India and Ethiopia. Drawing from history, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the relationship dates back nearly 2,000 years. It is rooted in trade, in cultural exchange, and shared values across the Indian Ocean. He recalled how merchants exchanged not just spices and gold, but ideas and ways of life, turning ancient ports into bridges between civilizations. Highlighting modern ties, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also remembered the role of Indian soldiers who fought alongside Ethiopians during the liberation of Ethiopia in 1941, calling the partnership timeless and enduring. Let's in fact listen into that statement.
Honorable members, India and Ethiopia share warmth in climate as well as in spirit. Nearly 2,000 years ago, our ancestors built connections across great waters. Across the Indian Ocean, merchants sailed with spices, cotton, coffee, and gold. But they traded more than goods. They exchanged ideas, stories, and way of life. Honorable members, India and Ethiopia share warmth in climate as well as in spirit. Nearly 2,000 years ago, our ancestors built connections across great waters. Across the Indian Ocean, merchants sailed with spices, cotton, coffee, and gold. But they traded more than goods. They exchanged ideas, stories, and
So Aditya, we heard the Prime Minister in fact speak about how our civilizations are connected. He spoke about how Ethiopia is in the crosshairs of the African continent and India is at the heart of the Indian Ocean region, and that's how traders, merchants actually interacted, and apart from trade they also shared how to live lives, ideas about lives, and that's how our countries actually have this cultural friendship going on since ancient times.
Well, absolutely, Shivani, if you hear the departure statement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has said that, there exists civilizational relationship between India, Oman, India, Jordan, and India, Ethiopia. And, these statements by Prime Minister Narendra Modi reflect the fact that, there's a large people-to-people connect between India and Ethiopia, and definitely, in the times to come, there could be further, more connect between India and Ethiopia, considering the fact that, when he talks about the investors, it is very likely that, the trade relationship here is very, very critical at this juncture because, you see that considering the fact that the global trade tensions have been going on, America has been, has imposed 50% sweeping tariffs on India. So in that context, all these diplomatic engagements in this and the three-nation tour of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very, very crucial at this junction, and which will further talk out the foreign policy of how how the foreign policy of India moves in the next the course of next 2 to 3 years. Shivani.
Aditya, I'll request you to stay on with us. We have some more inputs on the story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlighted India's role as a global first responder during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking in Addis Ababa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India supplied medicines and vaccines to more than 150 countries at a critical time. Emphasizing India's partnership with Ethiopia, the Prime Minister said that it was India's proud privilege to provide over 4 million vaccine doses to Ethiopia, reflecting how New Delhi's commitment to global solidarity and humanitarian cooperation. Let's also listen into this statement.
India sent medicines and vaccines to more than 150 countries. It was India's proud privilege to supply Ethiopia with over 4 million vaccine doses.
Aditya, we are seeing how India had been responding during the COVID pandemic. It had sent its own developed vaccines as well, and now we have Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking about those 4 million vaccine doses that were sent across to Ethiopia as well during such times of crisis.
The COVID outbreak that had happened in the year 2020, India produced so many Covishield vaccines, which were, produced by the Serum Institute of India. And at that time, Adar Poonawala, who was heading the Serum Institute, was definitely at the forefront of the COVID vaccines. Even some of the vaccines, COVID vaccines, were also given to the United States of America. So absolutely, that was we see, that was some of the that was one of the vaccine diplomacy at that juncture with India, propagated. And definitely, vaccine diplomacy is something which the world always remember, because during such deadly outbreaks like the coronavirus, it becomes very, very pertinent. All the countries look forward towards India, and India appeared as a Vishwa Guru as far as the vaccine distribution is concerned. So definitely, Shivani, in the times to come, India will be remembered that, during the difficult COVID pandemic that had, occurred, India was at the forefront of all the vaccines production. Shivani, back to you.
Aditya, I'll request you to stay on with us. We'll require your inputs on some other stories that we are tracking. But for now, those visuals on your screens are of Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressing the Parliament, and after that he had also gone to plant a tree along with his counterpart. Now we are moving on to some other stories. In breaking news coming in, India's Ministry of External